Hey everyone, Michael Short here. Welcome to another edition of Let's Go Outdoors. There is I guess you could call it a disturbing trend across our province. Over 100 locations have been tagged as spots where, well-meaning folks have put the family pet into a storm pond. And by pet, I mean goldfish and other aquatic flowers or other material that just does not belong there. My next guest has some thoughts about all of this and is also going to be talking about an interesting program coming down the line here fairly shortly. A real pleasure to welcome the Executive Director of the Alberta Invasive Species Council, Megan Evans. Megan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. So, did I get that right? Over 100 locations across Alberta?
And the number grows all the time. Absolutely. Yeah.
So somebody might be saying, well, okay, these are storm ponds. They just collect rainwater. What's the problem about putting the little Susie's or little Johnny's goldfish in there and they get to live happily ever after?
Well, you hit it on the head earlier when you said well-intentioned, folks are doing this because a lot of people have the misunderstanding that disposing of their goldfish or other aquarium pets in this way is actually the most humane thing to do and the best thing to do, when in fact, that's actually not the case at all. So sure, goldfish in a stormwater pond might not be the worst thing ever because these are man-made structures. There's not a lot of biodiversity. But all of those stormwater ponds are designed to connect to natural waterways, right? So during high water events and large rainfall events, those stormwater ponds will connect to natural waterways, and these fish can escape into to our rivers, lakes, etc. So it's a real problem. The other issue is that once we get into water and we get into water bodies, our control options are super limited, right? You can't fish your way out of it. You can't really net these things. And we're really left with the province requiring to get a special use approval to put chemicals in these stormwater ponds to kill everything in there to get rid of the infestation. And that's the only real way to eradicate them in any of these ponds.
So,
Um,
so, so what? So, what are the dangers of allowing goldfish? Basically, they're storming the gates and they're getting into our rivers and lakes. What can they do?
Well, we have concerns that they can potentially outcompete native species for food and for habitat. And then, of course, there's always the real risk of introducing a disease, right? And potentially a novel disease into some of these systems. So that's really what we're worried about. And we talk about goldfish because they're kind of like the poster child for this issue. But this goes for any type of pet, any pet, aquarium plants and pets, you name it. So last 2 winters ago now, Michael, you might remember when we learned about the moss balls being sold across North America. This is an aquarium plant, really cool looking. So people just have these plants in their aquariums. And it was found that they were contaminated with live zebra mussels. So what happens if someone has a contaminated moss ball with zebra mussels and they dump that into a stormwater pond, a lake, a river? That could result in Alberta's first infestation of zebra mussels, which is something we absolutely do not want. So the matter, of this addressing this practice is far reaching because there's a lot of different species with a lot of different impacts. Because of course, zebra mussels and quagga mussels come with a $75 million a year price tag, right? Which would cost Albertans that amount of money to deal with those infestations to clean them up annually.
So, the "Don't Let It Loose" campaign has been around probably for a good number of years. The fact that you are, I guess, in a way, rebranding it to some extent with the care program. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I do want to talk about why isn't it? I mean, the fact that you're seeing still 100 locations. Why are we not reaching the folks that need to get this information? Do we need more cooperation from places where people are buying their goldfish and other aquatic pets?
Yeah, I think the most frustrating thing about this issue too is that every one of these infestations is completely avoidable. So it's really about awareness. Because I think if people know that this is not the right thing to do, that's going to really hugely address the issue, right? So yeah, absolutely. We need to do more work in pet stores and with aquarium groups. AISC is working on that. So we launched a very small pilot working with independent pet stores across Alberta last year, where we kind of did a train the trainer event. So we went into those stores, we gave them materials, we provided training to their staff to help us spread the word. So when Johnny comes in and buys a goldfish, he gets a "Don't Let It Loose" sticker and gets, informed that it's illegal to release that goldfish into the wild. So this year we have a grant from the Alberta Conservation Association, which is super grateful for. That's going to allow us to really breathe some new life into this "Don't Let It Loose" campaign and really work to, target our messaging to the right audience, like you're suggesting. So we're going to work with aquarium groups. We've kind of reached out to a number of them across the province already. We're going to be at the reptile shows, the outdoor shows, and really get some broader reach with our messaging.
Is it a question, Megan, of people not knowing what to do when the kids, they or anybody for that matter, don't want to put the blame on small children, but often it's, the parents say, well, you got to feed the fish, you got to clean the tank, and then you can have the fish. And when that doesn't happen, the parents sit there, scratch their head and say, well, what do we do now? How do we dispose of this aquatic animal?
Right. So that's where the care messaging comes in. So this is a really kind of goes part and parcel with the "Don't Let It Loose" messaging. So the care acronym stands for contacting other individuals or organizations that might be willing to adopt your pet, because pet stores are selling goldfish all the time, so people still want them. So there are people out there that might want your pet and might be very excited. You can also contact the pet store that you purchased it from, and they might be willing to take it back in some cases, not in all cases. The CARE acronym moves along to act responsibly. That is the A portion of our care. And that's really encouraging folks to research their pets before they purchase them. Michael, I have a leopard gecko and she's got to be 16 years old. And I didn't know that leopard gecko's got to be 16 years old when I agreed to take her, and we're still happy to have her. But I went into that very ignorantly. And I think it's important that we research these long-term decisions ahead of time, right? So act responsibly, research before you purchase a pet. You can also report. So if you do come across any pets or plants of concern that you find in Alberta's in the wild, please let us know. You can use Alberta's EdMaps app. That's EDD Maps. We've talked about that before. And then finally, when all else fails and you cannot, take care of that pet anymore, simply end ownership. So there's a number of ways you can do that. You can contact a veterinarian. You can sometimes freeze the animals or bury them in a safe place. You can freeze and dispose of them in non-compostable trash. So that's our last resort, the end ownership. Often there are ways that, there's schools, there's all kinds of different groups that are willing to adopt your pet as well. So there's lots that can be done there. So care. So contact other individuals or organizations. Act responsibly by researching your pets ahead of time. Report any plants or pets that you see in the wild, and then end ownership is really what we're promoting.
Now, you've got an interesting symposium or webinar coming up September 7th, and I guess this is an opportunity to springboard this whole program, right?
Yeah, so we have the wonderful Nicole Kimmel, who's our aquatic invasive species specialist. Nicole's going to present for us. And if you've heard Nicole present before, she is an absolute wealth of knowledge and a very engaging speaker. So she is the one that really, deals with this issue operationally from the province's perspective. So she is kept very busy and shares with us all of the new things that they're finding, which can be scary sometimes. But we definitely encourage folks to come out, grab a bowl of popcorn, pop onto your computer on the 7th and join us to learn more about the "Don't Let It Loose" messaging and to learn, what everyone can do in playing a role to prevent the spread of invasive species through this pathway.
All right, Megan, we'll leave it there. Best of luck with not only the symposium, but as you launch this new program, and hopefully it starts to resonate with these pet owners, and we can really curb the spread of these invasive species. And in the meantime, you take care.